Hamjambo. ODM. 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 Asanteni sana. Nimeona kama kuna chungwa ndani ya nyumba hii. Chunga imejaa. So let me begin kwanza by bringing to you greetings from our fraternal partners. One, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, who is the party leader of Wiper. The other one is Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, party leader of ANC. They all wish ODM fraternity all the best in these deliberations. As has been said, other organs of the party have been meeting. The Central Committee, the National Executive Committee, even the Governing Council has been meeting. But we have not had an opportunity to have a meeting between our NEC members and our members of Parliament. And it was resolved that this meeting should be held here in Mombasa. The governor of Mombasa graciously agreed to host this meeting here. And they invited us to come more than 2 months ago. So this is not therefore an emergency meeting or a crisis meeting which has been called to respond to some imaginary issues that are created by the media. This is a normal meeting of ODM. And ODM as a party is not in panic. ODM as a party is strong and is growing stronger. I also want to report to you that Governor Paranya has extended an invitation to host the next meeting of next PG. Thereafter, Honorable Anyang' Nyong'o has also sent invitations that we will host you again in the UK next time. Yeah. So I'm happy to see that the response has been very good and you have a good attendance here. As you know, we are holding this meeting against a background of a crisis. We went to an election which we went and campaigned jointly with our partners. We formed a coalition, a pre-election coalition. Pre-election coalitions are usually formed in presidential systems to fight elections jointly. But there are also post-election coalitions, which are held mainly in parliamentary systems to form a government in the event that no party has received sufficient majority to form a government on its own. They are both, therefore, pre-election and post-election coalitions. After that, as you know, what happened in the elections, we had several options. There was a crisis after we refused to participate in the repeat elections as ordered by the court, for good reasons, because the Electoral Commission had refused to level the playing field, to deal with irregularities and illegalities which had been pointed out by the Supreme Court. In light of that development, we decided that it was not reasonable or logical to do the same thing the same way and expect different results. So we decided to stay out of those elections. And after that, we then said that we would pursue different options. One was the popular amendments that would help us to force a repeat of elections, invoking Article 1 of our national constitution. And we started by creating people's assemblies, which would lead to a people's convention that would pass resolutions, and those resolutions would then be accompanied by a draft bill for amendment of the Constitution, and thereafter we would then have to collect 1 million signatures. After we collected the 1 million signatures, then they would forward this to the IEBC, and the IEBC would then verify those signatures, and once they were satisfied that those were true signatures, then publish the bill. The bill would then be sent to the county assemblies and must be approved by 24 county assemblies before it goes to the National Assembly and Senate and finally the referendum. The other option was mass action. The third option was dialogue. And we said dialogue was the last option. But then there was resistance to dialogue. Then we said, because we had already accessed the results of the elections, we had access to the server, which gave us a clear outcome of the results of August 8th. We said that we would use our right, we exercise our rights, and swear in, as we had promised our people, that if they swear in, we would swear ourselves in. There were threats of treason, as you all know. And then we said that if treason is the price that must be paid for Kenyans to get electoral justice, so be it. Tutaenda. And you all know what happened on the 10th, on the 30th of January. Thereafter, tension was all over the country. But people said, let us remove all the presidential portraits, put them out somewhere in a heap and burn them, and then declare our sovereignty, and let us begin to collect taxes and run our own affairs. On the other hand, the others who said, arrest Raila and charge him with treason. So those are now the two issues here. One side, treason, other side, declare sovereignty. So there's a danger of Kenya as a country, as we've known it today, tearing apart. Those are the realities that prevailed after the 30th of January. Finally, it is against that background that the dialogue eventually took place that we've been asking for. And as you already know, before that, the statement was that time for politics are past. Anybody else who wants to talk about any kind of politics or changes, dialogue, should wait until 2022 and to talk to so-and-so. Then, if anybody wants to talk, we can only talk about the Big Four agenda. We ourselves had the 5 minimum points that we said a reducible minimum that must be put on the table for dialogue. Ultimately, it was agreed after the swearing-in that everything else should be put on the table. We decided to hold what you call talks about talks. And that is what the handshake was about. And those talks produced a memorandum of understanding, which now forms the basis of our relationship going forward. So once again, we meet at an interesting time, both for our party and our country. Some say These are confused and confusing times because of the handshake and the developments that have followed. I disagree. There's no confusion in our politics and in our country. What has happened is that our country and our politics have changed since the 9th of March. Those who have refused to see and embrace the change, and those resisting the change and trying to rewind the clock, are the ones wallowing in the or creating confusion. They embrace the handshake in the morning and oppose it in the afternoon.